Just a few more days to get 20% off the entire merch store.
We would be honored if you would join us.
After Revenge of the Sith, Yoda lost to Darth Sidious. We all know that. He said it to himself that he failed. In the book, it explained how Sidious was even getting the upper hand on Yoda and that he was becoming overwhelmed. I fear if the fight continued, then who knows what would have really happened. However, for the sake of the original trilogy, Yoda needed to survive. He ended up losing his lightsaber in that fight when Sidious shot his lightning at Yoda and his lightsaber caught it. Overpowered, it flew out of his hand where Yoda started to deflect the lightning with his own palms. Now this is a technique called Tutaminis, and it's extremely difficult. Only the most powerful in the Force can execute this ability, and for only a certain amount of time. After Revenge of the Sith, in the comics, Mas Amedda destroyed all the lightsabers that they could find, as seen in a comic that I covered a few years ago.
We have entered a new age. An age of freedom!
Yoda went into exile to Dagobah, and we know the rest. Today's comic picks up literally just minutes before Luke crash lands there in Empire Strikes Back. We start off with Yoda in his hut, cooking food, as the narration tells us that he requires meat. Traveling up the mountain, which is cool since we get to see more of the planet that we haven't seen before, really, Yoda comes across these animals that he hunts for food, claiming that they have the best meat on the planet. As he rummages through his bag, his thoughts are narrated to us. He carries no lightsaber. He would never diminish the weapon of the Jedi in the pursuit of filling his own belly. In any case, he resolved long ago he would never wield another lightsaber. As part of his penance, for the hubris that led to the fall of his order, for the blindness that led to his exile, for the shame of knowing that the consequences of that failure, even now, continue to plague the galaxy. No, he will not swing a Jedi's lambent blade again. And yet, he is not without resources. Yoda then takes out a bow and arrow to get his dinner for the night. Now, I'm going to sidestep and say that if you guys remember the very old comic a couple years ago that I covered regarding Vader fighting Kirak Infila to get his first lightsaber crystal, the reason we never saw Kirak Infila, which was explained in the comic, was because he took the bearish vow. And so this is kind of like the penance that Yoda is talking about. It's a similar thing. After Order 66, they just kind of disappear, sort of. But, of course, Yoda's is a lot more extreme. Then as Yoda heads back to his hut, he ends up falling into a cave with boulders and rubble crushing him, trapping him unable to move, as he laughs to himself.
Oh, Yoda, foolish you are. If had a lightsaber, you did. Got yourself out of this predicament. You could.
But then he realized that a true Jedi doesn't need a lightsaber, for they have the Force, and a powerful ally it is. Failure is the best teacher for a Jedi, and so is forgiveness. Thinking that maybe this is the perfect moment to die, that all of his failures came to this time right here, he realizes that it was his arrogance and lack of vision that led to the downfall of the Jedi Order. It wasn't necessarily the Force that failed him, but only himself. Clearing his mind, he uses the Force to move the boulders off of himself. As he heads back to his hut, immediately hearing an X-Wing crashing towards the surface of the planet, as a boy emerges, talking about finding Yoda. Of course, this boy here is Luke. It was the boy from his dreams, Yoda thinks, full of anger, hate, and suffering. They all clouded his thoughts, but not anymore. Only clarity did he see and feel. This was the last Jedi. This was a new hope. And that's the end of this piece from Yoda's story in the comic. It's always been very interesting for me to see how destroyed Yoda had become because of his loss to Sidious and the turn of the whole Jedi Temple at the hands of Anakin, or, rather Vader. I love seeing how the characters develop mentally, kind of like how I would want to see Obi-Wan Kenobi's mind and how he deals with everything, that immense post-traumatic stress that he's probably going through just sitting there on Tatooine with all the nightmares and dreams. Yoda had allowed these negative thoughts to enter his mind, but he didn't even properly confront them until now. I still disagree with him not using a lightsaber ever again. I just feel that doesn't do any good. His life is already at a disadvantage. Why would he punish himself now by making things even more difficult? I guess that's how the Jedi were, like samurai, and he didn't feel worthy to wield the sword of the Jedi Knights. Let me know what you guys think about Yoda's little endeavors here. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit like if you enjoyed it, and I will see you all in the next episode. Until then, remember, the Force will be with you always.
Now, fulfill your destiny.